Well, tonight on KTN Prime, we will be focusing on a story that may be alien in Kenya, especially with regard to the war on corruption. And our focus is on Turkana County. MCs there say they will refund misappropriated funds they spent on international trips. Is this the way to go on the war against corruption? Are we likely to see a similar trend in other counties? We'll be focusing on that story that has every single person talking, plus these other stories. Sorry, you can't fire anti-corruption bosses, Uhuru tells MPs.
An August date for an election is a date that interferes with the very backbone, with the very economic backbone of the country, tourism.
Tenure of IEBC creates a catch-22 situation for MPs in election date debate. The killings are ongoing. UN report says 300 Kenyans killed in clashes this year.
From plastic, when it's being made, the petroleum is used, so we are just recycling, going back to what was used to make the plastic. So it will come, and then the petroleum gases will be condensed in the first chamber. That's where we'll get diesel.
And Kabarak students making diesel from recycled polythene bags. Many thanks for joining us. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Meresha Owiti. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has rejected a bill seeking to send packing the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission CEO Halake Wako and his deputy Michael Mubea. The move secures the jobs for Wako and Mubea, even as the president supported a move by MPs to give powers to appoint EACC commissioners to the Public Service Commission instead of a selection panel. Rita Tinina begins our newscast with that story.
A member who would want to bring a different opinion, I will give an opportunity. So let us.
On the 9th of July, the National Assembly passed the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Amendment Bill 2015, seeking to send home the EACC Chief Executive Halake Wako and his deputy Michael Mubea. The MPs, who voted 70 to 39, also changed the appointment model for EACC commissioners by removing a recruitment panel and giving the role to the Public Service Commission. Since then, pressure has been mounting on President Uhuru Kenyatta not to assent to the bill. Well, MPs will not have their way entirely, and the EACC CEO and his deputy can now rest easy. In a memorandum dated the 31st of July, President Uhuru Kenyatta has rejected Clause 6 of the bill, which would have seen Halake Wako and Michael Mubea go home. The president wants them and other commission officials to remain in office. In his recommendation, the president says every person who immediately before the commencement of this act was an employee of the commission shall upon such commencement continue to serve in his or her respective position in accordance with the contract of employment. The president has largely agreed with MPs on Clause 4, which sought to give powers to appoint EACC commissioners to the Public Service Commission instead of a selection panel. MPs had proposed the PSC shortlists without mention of advertising or interviewing, neither had they proposed a given timeline. Uhuru Kenyatta's recommendation stipulates that wherever a vacancy arises in the membership of the Commission, the Public Service Commission shall, within 14 days after the vacancy arises, advertise, interview and shortlist 3 qualified applicants for each vacancy and forward the names of applicants so qualified to the President for appointment. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission Amendment Bill 2015, which was sponsored by the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, was initially only meant to increase the number of commissioners. But Opposition Deputy Whip Chris Wamalwa introduced his amendment seeking to send home the EACC officials in what he argued would give the commission a fresh start. Having failed to get the president's nod, the bill is headed back to the National Assembly for MPs to consider the recommendations. If MPs want to reject the recommendations, they have to garner a 2/3 majority, something that may be a tall order. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
Former Deputy Registrar of the Judiciary Francis Kakai Kissinger and 5 former members of the Judiciary's Tender Committee were today arraigned before an anti-corruption court charged with abuse of office. They also faced charges of willful failure to comply with procurement laws and regulations during the purchase of a residential house for the Chief Justice. Patrick Amimo has more.
Property for the Chief Justice.
Francis Kakai Kissinger, Martin Okwata, Benedict Omolo, Thomas Oloko, Nicholas Mbeba and Wycliffe Wanga were in the dock at Milimani Law Court's Anti-Corruption Court 1. On 17th July 2015, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Keriako Tobiko, said a report from the Anti-Corruption Commission had established sufficient evidence to sustain corruption charges against the accused. The prosecution alleges that between October 2012 and June 2013, the six engaged in a project to purchase a fully furnished residential property for the Chief Justice from Johnson Duya Mudhama Holdings Limited at a cost of 310 million shillings without prior planning. The prosecution alleges the 6 members of the Judiciary Tender Committee willfully and jointly failed to comply with the procurement laws and also failed to ensure that the Judiciary did not pay for the residential property in excess of the prevailing market prices. The defense lawyers pleaded with the Chief Magistrate to release their clients on reasonable bail terms after they denied charges leveled against them.
My clients have been on suspension since November 2013 and subsequently had their contracts of employment terminated, and therefore currently do not have a regular source of income.
It is true that the accused persons had been released on a free board by the officers, investigating officers from EACC, but we wish the court to take cognizance that at that point they had not been charged in a court. And now that the matter is in the court, we cannot consider them to be low risk suspects.
Despite opposition from the prosecution, the defense successfully argued to be provided with documentary evidence, including a report from the Anti-Corruption Commission.
We would certainly be opposed to the other application concerning the investigation report.
Article 50 of the Constitution entitles the accused persons to access not only to evidence, as my learned friend Mr. Njagi later said.
As for the report under section 35(1) and 2, I'll make that decision on the 24th when we come for plea.
The Chief Magistrate ordered the accused to be released on a cash bail of 600,000 shillings each. Alternatively, the accused were each asked to execute a bond of 1.5 million shillings with a guarantee of a similar amount. Former Chief Registrar of the Judiciary Gladys Sholei, who is jointly charged with the 6, could not take plea. Her lawyer Paul Kamuya told the court Gladys was out of the country and would appear in court in a fortnight on her return.
Sholei left the country on an urgent personal matter. However, I spoke to her and she has equally written a letter dated 3rd of August 2015 stating that she will be able to cut her visit abroad short in order to come and take a plea.
The National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission have been seized of this matter since 2014. In mid-July this year, the Director of Public Prosecutions gave a note for prosecutions. The second mention of this case will be on the 24th of this month. Patrick Amimo, KTN News at the Milimani Law Courts, Nairobi.
Let's now focus on that story I told you about at the beginning of the bulletin. It's an interesting one. Members of the Turkana County Assembly have pledged to refund misappropriated funds they spent on international trips. Well, this comes after a report by the Auditor General revealed the MCAs had been irregularly accorded seating allowance while on exposure trips to Israel, Singapore and Brazil. The report also indicated that 25.14 million shillings was spent on staff employed in 30 county assembly ward officers in the form of salaries, yet there was no evidence of competitive advertising or interviews conducted for the vacancies.
There were allowances that were deposited to our accounts, and yet it is not legal. We are going to have a meeting, all members with the administration of Turkana County Assembly, and we are going to harmonize that on how we can pay back the funds that was paid to members without their knowledge.
Mara mingi sana kama sasa vile hii pesa ambayo ilifanywa juzi auditing, ilipata pesa mingi sana, kimeenda sana, kimekuliwa. Na ile kitu ambaye ilisababisha hiyo pesa, hata ma MCS hawa wetu ambaye wako hapa Turkana, mara saa yote wanajiwekea, mara wanaenda outing, mara sio wanaenda wapi, mpaka hizo pesa zinatumika kwa njia nyingine ambaye sisi hatuwezi kukaona. Sisi kama wao vijana wakaaji wa hapa Turkana County hatuna faida yoyote kwa county yetu.
The Big Q in association with Thika School of Medical and Health Sciences.
Fund misappropriated funds. This is going to be an interesting conversation. That forms the basis of a big question tonight. We're asking you, should other officers named by the Auditor General return any money lost or wasted? Should other officers named by the Auditor General return any money lost or wasted? We'd love to hear from you on this. Remember, the hashtag is return to sender. This should be an interesting conversation. All right, let's now turn our attention to Kisumu. 2 infants perished early this morning when a boat with 23 passengers collided with another in Lake Victoria in Homa Bay County. The boat was ferrying mostly business people to Sori before the accident happened. Victor Ogale has the details.
Residents of Siwa Beach in Suba sub-county had a rather busy morning after a boat ferrying 23 passengers from Fangano Island to Sori Island, Migori County, collided with another. The accident happened at the border of Rasiro Beach and Mikuyu Beach. According to the survivors, the vessel rammed into the midsection of a stationary fishing boat, tearing its lower part and causing the boat to start sinking as it drew in water.
Nilikuwa nimelala sana mimi. Kufika hapo nikasikia kitu kama mlipuko hivi. Kumbe ile boti yetu iligonga boti nyingine hapo ndogo. Sasa tukajaribu tukaangalia tu hakuna venye tungefanya kwa sababu ilikuwa usiku. Boti baadaye kazama na kwa bahati nzuri tulikuwa na life jacket, kila mtu alikuwa na life jacket. Sasa yale mawimbi ndio ilifanya kila mtu anaweza kujiokolea tu.
We blame it on poor visibility. And apparently we just want to send a warning that these people should not travel at night. And if they are traveling at night, let them have illumination that any other boat can see. Because it's like there was poor visibility and the boats could not see each other. That's why it led to the collision.
At the end of the body, we certainly came to realize that the boat could not even manage to make backward movement, or even there was no any movement furthermore. Yeah.
Boti ameanguka chini by saa 6. Mimi nime confused, nimechukua kibuyu tu.
Lillian Awor is deep in thoughts after her 2 children drowned in the accident. She was coming from visiting her husband, who is a fisherman in Remba Island, and was heading to their home in Kano, Kisumu County. Ruben Ochola, who is a fisherman, was among the first people to get to the scene and rescue people. According to him, their response, together with other fishermen, saved the situation from getting much worse.
Nikaanza kuamusa members of BMU. Tukaona tutachelewa, tukiwamusha watu yote tutachelewa, wale tulipata tukaanza safari nao kwenda mahali hiyo ajali ilipatikana. Tukaenda moja kwa moja, kufika tulikuta wengine walikuwa na ogelea na life jacket, na wengine walikuwa kwa mattress, watu 5 walikuwa kwa mattress. Baadaye tukachukua mtu mmoja kwanza kwenda karibu na hiyo mattress, tukakuta watoto 2 kama wanaelea juu ya maji.
For Lillian Awol, what began as a visit by her and her 2 kids to their father has now ended in calamity. Were it not for the combined efforts of the fishermen along Kiwa Island, the tragedy would have been bigger than what it is right now. Victor Ogale, Kiwa Island, Homa Bay County.
Such a sad story. Now to an inspiring story from Nakuru, where students of Kabarak University say they have invented a way in which polythene bags can be used to make diesel for running small machines. The group known as Enactors say garbage menace can be turned around to create energy and wealth. Take a look.
This is Gioto Dam Site, the major garbage collection site in Nakuru County, and those are students from Kabarak University and a community member. They are here collecting plastics. Reasons behind that: making diesel. After collection, the polythene bags are put in this locally made plant known as the Robama.
And you have closed it and it's now perfectly airtight. You then light the fire down there. This chamber is actually separated into 2, whereby the fire is when you light down there.
So it will be burned for a period of over 1 hour. After that, reaching the degrees of 400 degrees to 500 degrees, gases will form, which will be then transmitted to this first condenser chamber. Now, liquid petroleum gases from plastic, when it's being made, the petroleum is used. So we are just recycling, going back to what was used to make the plastic. So it will come and then the petroleum gases will be condensed in the first chamber. That's where we'll get diesel. Now, after diesel, the lighter gases will move, which now will come down here, which the gas can be tapped from down here from the second congestion chamber, and we can use it again to either heat or you can use it for cooking at home.
But how did they come up with such an innovation?
In Nakuru alone, we have 45.5 tons of plastic dropped every year annually. Now, if you recycle this plastic into diesel, you'll be able to get about 44,000 liters.
And since the aim is to conserve the environment, the group says in burning the plastics, one should seek to use environmental friendly sources of energy instead of timber. After 3 hours, the group monitors the combustion process and shows us the product, which they say is diesel.
So now that the crude one is below, the final, we collect the one which is at the top.
Sami Mbugwa, a resident and also youth group chair here at Gioto, hopes to make much profit from the polythene that residents here depend on. The project seeks to work with communities for employment opportunities.
Zikikam zikimwaga tunaziokota wakati tu ziko fresh kabla zijachanganyikana na takataka mob, tunazisanya kando. Tunaziuza for 1 kilo for 10 shillings. Huwa zinakuja hapa na lori. So hii project limekuja hapa karibu na sisi, tutakuwa tukizichemsha, tunatoa hiyo diesel which tunaiuza for a higher price. Last time tuliona hiyo gas na tuliona diesel na tukaitest na ikafanya.
The group will be joining 37 other countries in South Africa for project presentation in October. Kamchemenza, KTN News, Nakuru County.
All right, so Turkana MCAs have pledged to refund money they misappropriated on international trips, rather, and that forms the basis of a big question tonight. We're asking you if you think that other officers named by the Auditor General should follow suit and return money lost or wasted. Trust me, I've got lots of feedback from you. Sylvester Aura says, let's not rush to credit Turkana County. It could be PR stunt to conceal grave corruption. Pintandinya says all money lost or misappropriated must be returned and those involved prosecuted. Ahmed Moyo says, yes, I think Turkana MCAs are setting the tone for other officers to also be accountable. Gitao Mwaura says, yes, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Finally, Jen Kanana says, the Kenyan government should move beyond naming and shaming the corrupt to recovering all lost funds and jailing those concerned. Those are some of your views on our big question tonight on whether or not other officers named by the Auditor General should return money lost. You're watching KTN Prime. Stay with us. We'll be back after this short break. Thank you for staying with KTN Prime. Let's take you to the coast now. It was an inspiration-packed third day of the Kenya National Primary Schools Heads Association Conference as head teachers who go an extra mile to make a difference were recognized. KTN's Francis Ontomwa spoke to one of the unsung heroes and now reports.
When their time came to take the stage, they didn't disappoint. They took everyone to the crest of the wave. Sahajanand Special School Mtwapa dominated the stage with scintillating performances that will earn them a standing ovation. Patrick Muzungu making an inspirational story of a head teacher giving his all.
We have the vocational training, which is like a polytechnic. In that one, we are running several courses. We have weaving, whereby we now weave some baskets using these polythene bags from the supermarket. We are making it, and we can make a very nice bag. And also we are making beads. We also teach them ICT.
The school was started to integrate children with physical challenges with the rest. Here, children with different physical challenges have been brought all under one roof. Mwalimu Muzungu has dedicatedly taken care of these children, even in trying moments. A moving story is told of 15-year-old Linda, whose life was at one time in danger.
When he came to the office, now the parent said, Mwalimu, I know very well that in a boarding school, when school are closed, then the children should go home. But I'm telling you, I am now going home with this my child, and I'm seeing it for the last time, because before I brought him here, he was about to be killed because they are claiming that there is no rain because of this child.
Linda, Bendera and Kazungu are microcephalic, a rare neurodevelopmental disorder in which an infant's head is significantly smaller than the heads of other children of the same age and sex. Warped beliefs normally exposes children of this group to danger.
This disability, microcephalus, in Mijikenda community, these children are normally killed. They believe that this one is a bad omen. So, because of that now, we now make them to stay at home.
Educationists are concerned that such children still have to be graded in national examinations on same scale with everyone else.
One of the biggest concerns is that children with physical disabilities and those with hearing impairments are actually assessed, examined the same way that a person without disabilities is assessed, and this is a big disadvantage for them. What we require is adapting examination to the needs of a person who cannot hear, meaning that their exam needs to be to consider the kind of vocabulary that they have learned.
Aside from the heated exchanges between the Teachers Service Commission and the Kenya National Union of Teachers here at the Kenya Primary Schools Heads Association's conference, there were positive stories. Stories such as one coming from Sahajanand Primary School, where head teachers are making a difference. Francis Ontomwa, KTN News, Mombasa.
Francis Ontomwa with that nice story from the coastal region. Now, debate on changing the general election date began with the surprising catch-22 situation for CORD and Jubilee sides. It dawned on MPs supporting the bill that changing the election date would not only extend the term of the current administration, but also force them to support a Jubilee amendment seeking to extend the term of IEBC commissioners.
March 4th, 2013, Kenyans turned out in their numbers to elect their leaders despite the shift from the norm, where the exercise was conducted in December. But now, the general elections may shift yet again back to December should Parliament approve a motion moved by Uganda MP David Ochieng moving the 2017 polls from the constitutionally stipulated second Tuesday of August to the 21st December 2017.
Election in August, Mr. Speaker, would happen this way. That people will indeed register as voters wherever they are. But when the election time comes in August, people will move back to their rural areas with the concomitant result that most of them will not cast their ballots. They will be just escorting people to the voting centers.
The ODM legislator also argues that holding the polls in August may reduce the voter turnout due to extreme August weather conditions in some regions and the busy academic calendar. Sentiment supported by a good number of his colleagues from both coalitions.
Most of the voters will be disenfranchised because the month of August is not an holiday month. December is an holiday month. So most of the upcountry people who are working in urban areas who have registered to vote, ordinarily they vote in where they come from.
Election in December, we would actually be enjoying Christmas as we enjoy victory for those who would have won.
But legislators opposed to the bill have indicated that Parliament does not have the powers to effect a constitutional amendment without subjecting it to a popular referendum.
Any bill whose effect could be to increase the term of the president could, in accordance with Article 251, sub-Article 1, require a referendum.
If the chair were to be directed to the said Article 255, then really the matter of election date is not a matter that is subject to the referendum.
So by changing the month, you have actually changed the term of office of the president. And on that we must get a ruling because that will actually require a referendum. So that we get clarity on that.
Now, the debate on changing the election date, however, came with a surprising realization and suspicion among CORD and Jubilee teams in the House. On the one side, shifting the election date to December would equally extend the term of the current government.
That the fact that the date of elections could be before the date we were elected in a manner that eats into our time does not eat into our pay. The people of Kenya will still pay the members of parliament for 5 years. The people of Kenya will still pay the members of county assembly for 5 years. And that is not what we are debating here.
People, as always, and especially the activists in our midst, will think that the members of parliament would like to increase their time. One thing I should like to say is that our term should be 5 years. And if we looked at it properly, in fact, we should be operating as member of parliament up to March. But we are saying that is not really important.
On the other side, Jubilee MPs are dangling a carrot to the CORD side, saying they are willing to support it if their CORD counterparts support another amendment extending the terms of the current IEBC commissioners, which expires in November 2017. Now, KTN Prime.
So Turkana MCS said they will refund money they misappropriated on an international trip. And that story has got so many people talking, especially on social media. Trust me, we have so much response to that big question that we're asking you. Should other officers named by the Auditor General return any money lost or wasted? I will be sampling your views on that before we end this bulletin. For me to be able to track that conversation, use the hashtag Return to Caesar. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on that. We are taking a short break and we'll be back with business news in just a bit.
Thank you all for keeping it KTN. Let's take a look at business. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Now, you've acquired a new house or office and you need to relocate but have no idea on where to start and how to ship everything in the most convenient way possible. On this week's edition of The Adventurer, KTN's Charles Gitonga speaks to Cosmas Kamuyu, who had been employed to assist people move in or out for 10 years but set up his own moving company a year ago.
Welcome to The Adventurer, and today it's all about moving something from one point to the next. There comes a time when you need to move maybe a house or an office, but think about the risk that poses to the equipment being moved, maybe electronics or furniture. That's where professional moving companies come into place.
I am
Cosmas Camoyo. And my role in Nelios Moving and Locations is to head the business. Basically, I'm the CEO of this company. We are an integrated and full-service moving and locations company. This is a business of assisting clients move seamlessly from one location to another, be it individuals relocating from one estate to another, or an office moving from one area to another area, or an individual once more moving from one region to another region, be it within Kenya, one county to another county, or from a country to another country, either going in or going out. It's a huge investment for moving. You know, you need trucks, you need equipment, you need materials, you need marketing, you need staff, training and all those for starting. So it cost us quite a number of millions, but the money was sourced mainly by the shareholders. I'm not just alone, I'm the CEO, there are a few other people. It came from personally from my own savings, and I sold some assets somewhere because I was determined to get started.
How many moves do you do in a month, and where do you find yourself moving things from and to?
Initially it used to be moves within Kileleshwa, Kilimani, but now it is all over, all the way in Mombasa Road to Westlands, to Thika Road, to the counties, Mombasa, Kisumu, wherever. It's all over basically the country, to the region and all that. And it tends to cluster a lot towards the end of the month, because Kenya, we get paid monthly, we pay our bills monthly, we plan our lives monthly.
There are quite a number of moving companies in the market. How do you make Nelios stand out?
We want to stay ahead of everyone by engaging and doing things differently. You just saw us using mover blankets here. These are products that you can't see anyone use around here, because traditionally people here don't use them. But we know how safe they are, how much kind of safety they give to clients' goods. Our lifting equipment, for you probably just saw our staff lifting with something they put on their shoulders here. These are things that are geared to improving our safety for our employees, because I've seen them sometimes get tired or get hurt and all that. Safety of the client's goods and all that.
And what are the challenges in this business?
Essentially, when you're starting, yes, there is always that small risk of underestimating cost. Or thinking you are going to do this with this X amount of money, so costs always a challenge. But you always go around it by thinking creatively and thinking how you can do things a little bit different. That's one. Then there's in our market, there is a shortage of people who think in a moving sense, from a mover's perspective, because the industry is nascent, is not known, it's not developed, it's not expected, if you like. So we had that challenge of who are the right people.
It takes about 4 hours to do a typical house move within a city setting, meaning you could wake up in one house and sleep in another within the same day. It always seems impossible until it's done. Charles Gitonga for The Adventurer.
Thanks, Charles. Now let's look at an interesting story that did make headlines today. When the central bank governor appeared before the finance committees of both the Senate and the National Assembly, he pointed out that the bank would be keeping a close eye on the developments on the shilling and would act and rein in on the volatility in the market. As such, many analysts thought that he would hike the central bank rate for the third time in 3 months to ward off further weakening of the local unit. But instead, the governor pulled a fast one on the entire market. Adelaide Chingole tells us about the rate hike that never was.
Over the last 1 month, focus has been on the new central bank governor and his efforts to rein in the wayward shilling. Despite being in office for just 6 weeks, the new governor had defied expectations and implemented a 300 basis point increase in the central bank rate to try and support the weakening shilling. As he chaired an unprecedented third monetary policy committee meeting in just 3 months, and in the backdrop of the continued depreciation of the shilling, everyone expected him to effect yet another rate hike.
We've penciled in a forecast for a hike of at least 100 basis points.
According to the analysts, the central bank needed to increase the rate to give further support to the shilling. In the analysis, the shilling would come under even more pressure once the US raises the Federal Reserve rate later in the year. This would result in the further global strengthening of the dollar.
But you know, our argument is that you need to stop the bleeding now, you need to slow down the bleeding now before you get your fiscal house in order.
Moreover, the country's inflation rate was likely to rise following the 3 shilling increase in the fuel levy that will become effective this month. But in what is fast becoming the modus operandi for the new central bank governor, Dr. Njoroge pulled a fast one on the entire market. While everyone was waiting for a rate hike, the governor instead opted to retain the rate and changed at 11.5%. In a statement, the governor cited the falling inflation rate, which had dropped to 4-month lows, the stable exchange rate, increased foreign direct investment, and recovery of the tourism and agricultural sectors as some of the reasons for the decision to retain the central bank rate at 11.5%.
So the flow in tourism and the increased price of tea back to $3 may bring in inflows that may counter the challenge that we have with the exchange rate.
Moreover, Dr. Njoroge said the measures taken in the previous meetings, particularly the increase in the Kenya Bank's referencing rate KBRR, were yet to be fully transmitted to the economy. Banks are expected to price the increase into their lending rates this month.
We've been watching to see whether indications will be so that we see how the burden of increased interest rates will be shared.
All right, so far have you adjusted your lending rates up?
We're waiting for the central bank meeting tomorrow to lead their lips and then respond.
So far, the central bank has been supplementing its rate hike with frequent interventions in the market to stem volatility. This has resulted in tight liquidity conditions that has seen the interbank rate, the rate at which banks lend to each other, rise from 8.50% to historic highs of 21.26%.
We personally think that if the central bank continues its hawkish stance, you know, there's going to be leaner times ahead for the shilling. And in terms of the interbank rate, you know, where it is at slightly north of 19%, but it's not a solution to actually convince portfolio investors to come back to the market. I think, you know, another firm signal from the Central Bank of Kenya later today is definitely needed.
So was the decision to retain the rate at 11.5% wise? Analysts say it could come at a heavy cost to the economy by worsening the foreign sell-offs that have characterized the equity market this year and further hurting the shilling.
The last couple of weeks, there has been a consensus shift because of the fact that the governor has spoken about the debt levels and the fiscal side of things helping out monetary policy. And, you know, failure to act today will perhaps really be misinterpreted by the market that the Central Bank of Kenya has done all it can for the shilling, and now it's put its hands up and you know, fallen back and said the dollar is the king. So I think, you know, it will be taken slightly you know, negative by the market for the shilling. I think the shilling will perhaps continue to weaken on the back of that.
Adelaide Changole, KTN Business.
Innovation and entrepreneurship have emerged as keys to unlocking Kenya's economic growth, but lack of an organized system and limited access to financial services by young innovators has been hindering the growth. Riding on the momentum of the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, the government now seeks to create a national innovation ecosystem around Enterprise Kenya to support innovation in the country. The newly launched incubation program by Nairobi University will give 10 startups between $3,000 to $5,000 to grow their business. The incubators will be connected to mentors and potential investors, with the best performing startup getting a capital injection of $100,000. Stakeholders called for a more organized body to ensure all innovations are tapped, incubated and commercialized to create jobs for more than 40% unemployed Kenyans.
It's just amazing. I mean, it's because
And that's it for KTN Business. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. For more news, log on to our website, ktnnews.com, standardmedia.co.ke.
All right, thank you for staying with KTN Prime. Let's look at sports now. Tens of physically challenged athletes converged at the Nyayo National Stadium for day one of the National Paralympics trials. The trials will be used to select a strong squad to take part in the forthcoming All-African Games as well as the World Paralympic Games in Doha, Qatar.
Over 150 athletes took part in the 2015 National Paralympic Trials, hopeful of donning the national colors to either the All-African Games in Congo-Brazzaville or to the World Paralympics Games in Qatar. Of importance on day one was to attain qualification standards for either of the events.
Na wachezaji wengi ambao wamekuja ama wamejitokezea zaidi ya wachezaji 150 na mwaka huu tunaona kwamba tutapata timu ambayo itakuwa katika hali ambayo itatuletea medali.
Some of the participants managed to attain qualification standards and will be flying the Kenyan flag high. Philemon Kipchumba, John Piego and David Por all qualified in the 1500 meters T13 category. Kipchumba clocked 3 minutes 57.5 seconds to win the race. In the T46 category, Stephen Wambua led Hilary Tarus and Evans Kurgat in qualifying for the World Paralympic Games. Due to the limited number of resources facing the Kenya Paralympic Committee, none of the wheelchair participants recorded qualification time for the World Games.
Wheelchair zetu ni very expensive na vile tuna wachezaji wengi ambao wangependa kushiriki katika michezo kama hizi, lakini kwa sababu ya upungufu wa hizi vifaa imekuwa ni changamoto kubwa sana.
Meanwhile, dwarf athletes in the country who are also present at the trials have a realistic target to experience the Olympic spirit. If they attain qualification time, then Kenya will be sending a dwarf team to the Olympics for the first time come 2016 in Rio de Janeiro.
New category, new entry, hatujawahi participate as short people, so tuko na hii opportunity tuingie na tuwakilisha Kenya.
Tungo nafikira sisi tu ni comedian, yani we can't do anything. When you go expose kwa hii sport sana, alafu tutoke huko nje. The
Nyayo National Stadium will on Wednesday and Thursday play host to a special category of athletes, the Paralympians. But at the end of the 2 days, a team to represent Kenya at the All-African Games in Congo-Brazzaville, as well as the International Paralympics World Cup in Doha, Qatar in November, will be selected. But for many of the athletes taking part in the trials here, their focus remained the Rio Olympics. Lynn Washira, KTN.
There will be 2 Kenya Premier League matches on Friday, a similar number on Saturday, while Sunday will have 3 matches at different venues within the country. City Stars will be hosting Mathare United at the Nyayo National Stadium, hoping to put aside that dismal show. The same venue will play host to the Ushuru and Sofapaka match. On Saturday, Muhoroni Youth have a date with Thika United at their backyard. Nakuru All Stars have a tough assignment against former league giants AFC Leopards at their Fraha Stadium. On Sunday, Sony Sugar host military side Ulindi Stars at Awendo Green Stadium. Tusker plays Western Stima at Kasarani, while Bandari will be at their Mbaraki grounds against Chemelil Sugar. Kite surfing is taking shape in the country. More youths in the coast are taking up the sport as a way of generating an extra shilling, as well as keeping off the drug menace in the region that has ravaged most youth. However, just like any other developing sport, it has its challenges, and the youth there hope the coastal counties will invest more in the sports. That is a story we're focusing on for you. We're hoping to get more details for you from the coast probably in the next coming days.
KTN Weather in association with More Team Do.
You have been watching KTN Prime. We thank you for staying with us. Let's remind you of a big question tonight. We focused on a story from Turkana County. The MCAs there say they will refund money that they misappropriated while on international trips. That is in Israel, Singapore and Brazil. 100% of you say that other officers named by the Auditor General should return money lost or wasted. That was our big question tonight. We were asking you, in light of that story from Turkana, should other officers named by the Auditor General return any money lost or wasted? At M_Gituro says counties should be made aware that the central government did not devolve embezzlement. Mohammed Noor Adam says, why did they have to wait for the Auditor General's report to return the loot? If at all they were sincere, they should be prosecuted. Langat Joachim says, I never knew fairy tales still exist. Kingiacho kwa mganga hakitoki. That's the quote they just know and believe. Paul Mwani says, yes, but if that could be from top to bottom, money could be recovered, starting with Golden Bag scandal, MPs, CSS, senators. And finally, Sylvester Aura says, let's not rush to credit Turkana County. It could be a PR stunt to conceal grave corruption. Let's keep this conversation going. Remember, you can track it down by using the hashtag #ReturnToSender.
Roll with us today in any of our branches countrywide. Thika School of Medical and Health Sciences, nurturing professional excellence.
And that is where we leave it on KTN Prime. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm Linda Good. Remember, JKL Live begins in just a few minutes.